I've been saying to people is that, you know, we've got more breweries per capita than anywhere else in the country. You know, so think about that for a second. We've got, you know, we're producing more beer per person in the state than like some people, you know, some places that are known for beer in Europe. So when you look at, you know, the overall impact of the breweries in the state as far as a tourism magnet, you know, I'm telling people, you know, we're the Disneyland of beer here. You know, we've got breweries at every corner of the state. There's more coming every day. And, you know, it's just a matter of time before, you know, people used to come to Vermont for Ben & Jerry's and, you know, maple syrup and milk. You know, I'm saying in another 10 years, they're coming for the beer. They're coming for the beer now.
Vermont is this small set of people who love to, I think, to do stuff on their own, the DIY lifestyle. And I think craft beer is in some way an art form. You can do it on the big scale that we're at, but you can also do it at the small scale of in your closet with a couple of water jugs. So I think that aspect, along with the variety of things that you can do with it. I mean, you can have the lightest of light beers to the darkest of dark, and in between there's so much. I think that's the biggest thing about craft beer is the variety that you can create.
This is a state that has dedicated beer drinkers and beer makers.
You know, we've been, you know, Vermont has, I mean, we certainly didn't start the craft brewing revolution by any means, but you know, there are a couple of places that were up and running here pretty early on.
Craft breweries, the industry of that is booming right now. There seems to be a constant influx of new breweries popping up all over, and Vermont's no exception.
I like to keep it local, and I feel like some of the best breweries in the country are here in Vermont.
You know, nothing's better than like a nice cold long trail at the end of a big bike ride, or while you're fishing, or after skiing, and that's typically what I associate it with.
Our beer sales, just February to February, just in this last month, we're up 28% over last year. Something's going on around here, and we're very excited about it.
The other thing with craft beer is it's hot right now. People want to drink craft beer. They want to drink the next new product. They want to experiment.
All you need is 4 ingredients and you're rolling, you know. So you got your water, you got your hops, you got your malt, you got your yeast, and next thing you know, you got some great libations. So.
If you look at the overall beer market, which includes everybody, there's less people drinking beer and less beer being produced in this country. But if you look at craft beer, on the other hand, you know, we're on the verge of busting 10% of the market. You know, we're not there yet. Here in Vermont, it's a little different. We're told by, you know, some of the big brewers in the state that the market share that we have here in Vermont, package stores, they say, is something like 20%, which is huge. We run this program that folks run around the state and they get stamps in their passport. And that's grown at this point to over 600 redemptions a year. You know, it started out, I think the first year we did it, we had 75 people turn in their cards. And last year we had 609. And we're already on a pace this year, you know, looking at the end of the first quarter, that we'll see more than 600 this year. And the irony here is that it gets harder to do. When I first started with the association and the first passport, there were only 16 breweries on it. You know, the second one had 18 breweries on it. The one that we just put out has got 24 breweries on it. So it's getting harder to do, and more people are doing it.
In the summertime, we have people lined up to get the stamps. I mean, and you look at their passports, and they've been to half or 3/4 of breweries already. It's a very popular program.
And I guess, you know, for a person like myself who likes not just making beer, but, you know, drinking great beer, it's very gratifying to see that people are more and more people are becoming not just aware, but also huge fans of the products. You know, I've been in the industry for more than 20 years, so I can recall a time when brewing craft beers was, people didn't know what they were. So there was a lot of selling that needed to take place. People thought of beer as, a yellow liquid like Budweiser. In fact, if you go into the visitor center, you can see in the can collection, there is a generic beer can. It just says beer in kind of a, like an Arial font or something like that. It doesn't have a brand, it doesn't have a type. There was a time not that long before I started where that was, an acceptable, a supermarket could have generic beer. Nowadays, people are interested in different types, different flavors. So it's a lot more interesting marketplace, and for a person like myself that likes great beer and likes to make beer, it's just a great time to be in the industry.
Vermont is a great place to open up craft brewery. There's a great beer culture here, but there's a really good fan base with great knowledge of what good beer is and what it should be. They're adventurous. They try all kinds of different beers. And that lets us try all kinds of different beers. So there's just a great cross section throughout New England, and especially I think in Vermont, of breweries, going from everything from little places like us, we're brewing on a 10-barrel system, to having places like Long Trail and Magic Hat, which are obviously much bigger operations, and there's everything in between.
One of the things that's very interesting in my observation, I have kids that are in their 20s. They will not go near a traditional beer. They only drink craft brew, and all their friends do. I mean, this is the way they are. It's almost like they all have iPhones. They all drink craft beers, and it's the new generation has moved to this genre of beer drinking.
But in general, it's growing. You talk to people. There's more and more people that are drinking it. More and more people are liking it, and for every small fraction of industrial beer decline, it's huge growth for craft beer. So we still have a long ways to go, but people are starting to see the light, and they're enjoying it.
And you're now seeing craft do steadily increasing, and us especially, we're doing very well. We're churning out a lot of beer in this place, and with such a small facility, we're busting at the seams. But it's awesome because of the amount. We have 2 docks in the back, and we're shipping 10 to 15 trucks a day. Full trucks. It's exciting to be a part of.
And the homebrewing scene here is just incredible compared to other areas that I've lived. It seems like everyone enjoys craft beer in the state a lot more than your typical macro Bud Miller Coors. And people just enjoy making them and learning about it. It seems like a great spirit in the state of do-it-yourself, and that just carries over into the beer.
I think just the people in Vermont in general work really hard, so I think that's definitely a huge role in the fact that craft brewing has taken off in Vermont.
People here are very accepting of things that are made locally, so it's a cool thing to be a part of, and I think it makes it a good place to brew because people are always trying to experiment and kind of push the limit to see what's up next.
In Vermont, there's always been this commitment to buy local products. That's why Ben & Jerry's took off. It's the reason any Vermont product tends to do well with Vermonters. We are committed to buying local stuff. The local vor movement started a long time ago, and when the beers came along, it just became another element of the local vor movement. You can spend a lifetime experimenting, There's so many wonderful beers out there now, but we've gotten to a point here in Vermont where there's just so many great beers, you don't even have to leave the state anymore.
People that live here like the good things in life, we like fresh air, we like the outdoors, we got a lot of great cheeses, there's a lot of great restaurants, there's a lot of great beers, foods. People here, I think, just appreciate finer things in life, more quality life, and some of the folks in other areas, they may appreciate them as well, but we're living it.
There's certainly a culture up here of buying local products and buying better products, and I think that kind of fits in with the local. I think people tend to eat, and they don't buy Wonder Bread. They buy bread from a local bakery, or more authentic, hearth-baked breads and coffees and cheeses, and there's some wineries and cideries up here now. I think people up here, locals look for it, and I think people that come to visit the state look for it as well. They think of Vermont as a place where craft products are made, quality craft products. So it seems to fit the culture really well. And there's a lot of people up here that like good beer.
I think that Vermont has the type of people that have a very sophisticated taste, not only with their beer, but also with their wine and their cheeses and their food. And it just goes along with that whole culture of having developed taste and wanting to have, food that tastes really good and beers that taste really good. I think that everybody in Vermont is tired of the same old bland thing.
People just like to do things themselves. I think it's kind of the spirit of our state, and just carries over in the beer. People do like the beer up here, so.
Vermonters are, I think, pretty independent and do tend to just kind of do what it takes to get it done.
Nothing's better than like a hard day at work and like rewarding yourself with some beer that you made.
People like to go out and taste something, see if they can make it. If they like it, they can modify it a little bit. Beer is beautiful, man. That's so nice. It's so nice that you can do stuff like that.
I mean, Vermont Pub Brewery started it all. They raised the bench, raised the bar, and ever since, Greg Noonan, since he passed, there's a lot of people following in his footsteps and really getting out there, and it's everybody's trying to outdo each other. Not, in a way, it's a friendly competition. It's just the complexity and like pretty much the craziness of all the people around here. So
it's really funny. If there's one characteristic that they all share, it's people who have known what to do with a recipe and be able to tweak any recipe they get, whether it's food, whether it's beer, and tweak that recipe just enough to make it their own. And yeah, there's your Vermont brewer.
But I do like to experiment, and with our small system here, it's a lot of fun to always change certain ingredients a little bit, with your hops or your malt, and you can always experiment. As a brewer, it's a lot of fun to make things on such a small level because it always comes out different. I certainly do love brewing beer and talking about it and consuming it.
It's been a big part of my life for, like 20 odd years, 21, 22 years now. And I just, I didn't always have the time necessary to be able to, homebrew. Here, it's, I'm thinking about beer all the time. Just taking those raw materials and putting them together and coming out with something that's, it's pretty good.
I don't get to homebrew much anymore, if at all, but I just love that whole process, and I love the glass carboys and being able to see the actual live, active fermentation, I mean, these stainless steel are great for craft breweries because they're easy to clean and they're they're design specific, a lot easier to clean than a carboy. But you don't get to see what's going on in there. When that's fermenting, it's a live, living process. That beer inside the tank is just churning from the bottom of that cone, 25 feet up in the air and back down again. I mean, it's just moving and churning and creating the CO2, and then of course alcohol as well. So it's fun. But yeah, that's what I love about the brewing end of it. But yeah, it's all a challenge, but it's fun. It's it's a rewarding challenge because you get to have the beer at the end.
When you're brewing beer down here, there's forever people poking their head in, and the downtime is filled up with talk. You get to get little mini tours and stuff while you're during the brew day, and people love. You find a lot of people love to talk about beer, and it's a good topic. It's a lot of fun. If I could do a more of a production brewery type of situation and be left alone to do the brewing, I would relish that opportunity.
A lot of it's the camaraderie and the people that I get to work with here at Magic Hat and also outside of the brewery, whether it be just beer drinkers at a beer festival or other brewers within the state. There's a big community feeling among other craft brewers, and that's just it's really enjoyable to be able to go to work and if you have a problem or a question that you can call the guy down the road at a quote-unquote competing brewery and see what they did, and But as brewers, we all really respect and appreciate each other for what it takes day to day to make good beer.
You 20-somethings have been, you know, in this renaissance of beer, where, you know, when I grew up, it was Budweiser and Miller and, you know, Coors if you could get it. You know, it never came east of the Mississippi. Yeah, you know, there's a wild independence associated with Vermont and the Vermont culture. I think that the idea of a quality crafted product is so Vermont. I mean, it could have been invented here. You go to any one of these breweries and they're more than willing to help you learn about it. It's a very exciting time to be a beer drinker. The beers are out of this world. I mean, every day you think you've tasted the best beer you'll ever have. You know, another week later you're going to taste another one that's on your desert island list. So, you know, it's just a great time to be involved with craft beer. And I consider it an honor and a pleasure to be able to, you know, just rub shoulders with these guys that I've considered like rock stars in my world.
I think you'll find some folks who are maybe going to open up a small brewery or brew pub, maybe even like a part-time kind of thing, you know, because I think that, you know, some people paved the way for them to be able to do that. Essentially, they're like just big homebrew operations, and many years ago, I don't think you would have seen somebody take a chance to try to get a business going with such a small system, but I think that people are kind of proving that you can. You really can make a go of it.
We believe that both Vermont and our beer in particular will grow as this beer movement continues to expand.
There's a lot of breweries, you know, for a small little state, but I think that there's enough support that I think they can just keep growing. You know, I think every little village could probably pretty much have its own brewery.
If you get a person that wants to do it because they love it, it'll succeed. If you get somebody who's doing it because they want to make money, well, good luck.
It's pretty exciting as a brewer because just in the last 10 years, what people are willing to experiment with and try is much different than it was, say, 10 years ago. So, you know, nowadays you can make a beer with dandelions in it, and no one's going to scoff at it. They're going to say, oh, I'd like to try that.
I'm hopeful because I love great beer that more and more people will be, you know, converted to drinking what we call real beer. But you know, people are interested in more high quality products. It's, in my mind, it's interesting if you think about it from the other perspective, like, why did they get away from that in the first place? Because, you know, historically there were a lot of different styles of beer. You know, and at some point, just American culture moved towards standardization of things and mass production. I don't know, you know, it's like, to me, a bigger question is why that happened, and, you know, why we moved away from quality crafted products in the first place.
Do I love beer? I hate it. I think it's awful. I mean, this is the worst job in the world. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. Awesome. Thanks.
I kind of get my brewing fix, you know, Monday through Friday.
Do you want me to do the repeat the question in the answer? Okay. Okay. I'm a professional. Yeah, I think it's that light went out. Oh wait, she might have hit it inside.
Perfect. It's comfortable and quiet. No clanking of bottles. It's pretty intensely loud.
Does that music matter? The music's fine, right?
Yeah, you can't really hear it.
Little Marvin Gaye background.
Yeah.
Nothing compared to some of those more extreme ones where you drink it, you're just like, I don't know, I like it. It gives you a very elated feeling as well.
Game. Would you say that's your favorite part?
I think drinking beer is my favorite part. Yeah.
I wish you guys could see me drinking a beer right now. That's a great beer, and it has looks like a college composition notebook, the label, so hopefully all your classmates will drink that while they're studying.
My favorite beer of all time, probably Genesee.
Except when they play beer pong, where they really need a light beer, just so they can consume enough to make it through the night alive.
Can I do it again?
Hello, hello. I like beer, a lot of beer.
Yeah, I know, right? We're saying every
Are you guys
time.
21?
Yeah.
Let's go grab a beer.